Hello, my friends. It is I, Skyworld. And with the ImagineLocke coming to an end, and if you were to watch the ImagineLocke death montage, you would know the next lock I'm doing is Skylanders Imaginators ImagineLocke. And before the premiere of the first episode on Tuesday, I thought I would let you get to know my Imaginators a little bit better. So I decided to make this video. I will be going over their backstories, and of course, you'll be able to see a visual of what they look like. Let's get straight on into it.
I live for heroism.
For life, we have Florian the Night. Florian grew up in the enchanted elven forest. Once he became of age, he decided to join the elven army and train to become a great fighter. He got incredible skills with the sword and quickly rose the ranks of the elven army. But this led to arrogance, and he eventually just kind of became pretty rude. And one day, when there was a scheduled assault on a troll base, instead of waiting until the morning, Florian thought it'd be a good idea to go the night before and defeat it single-handedly and take all the credit for himself. But it went quite the opposite. He got trapped by the trolls. For 2 long years, he sat in isolation. But rather than going mad, he thought of the true reason he originally wanted to join the army and became one with nature. And then eventually he used his new powers to free himself and single-handedly defeat the troll army, but not out of arrogance, out of heroism. Obviously, Master Eon heard of this and recruited him to the Skylanders, where he now realizes the true meaning of being a hero.
Engage my knuckles.
For our undead representative, we have Punchlock, the Brawler. Punchlock always grew up in the footsteps of her bigger sister, Punchlock. Punchlock wanted nothing more than to be equal to Punchlock, but Punchlock seemed to be better than Punchlock at everything. Punchlock eventually joined the Mabu Defense Force out of spite for Punchlock becoming a Skylander. Punchlock would train rigorously, sometimes even until her fists bled, just because she wanted to be equal to Punchlock. Eventually, one day, in a Mabu Defense Force accident, Punchlock was sent into a terrible coma and went down to the underworld for an out-of-body experience that made her think upon her entire life. She realized that Punchlock never did anything wrong. She was just always getting compared to her. Punchlock became determined to make up to Punchlock if she ever came out of this coma. Eventually, she was indeed freed from her coma, and Punchlock made up. And Punchlock even gifted Punchlock the iron fists that she wears today. Not to mention, while Punchlock was in the underworld, she became friends with a few spirits who help her out from time to time in combat. Obviously, Punchlock told Eon about Punchlock, and Punchlock joined the Skylanders, where she now serves Skylands.
Cower before the machines.
Next up, for our bazooka of the tech element, we have Omegaman. You see, Omegaman was one of the K-bots from Swap Force. He was assigned to, destroy the Skylander, yada yada yada, by Chaos. However, his CPU had faulty wiring, causing him to not be the best at combat and potentially hindering his fellow K-bots' ability to defeat Skylanders. Obviously, Chaos did not like this, so Chaos threw Omegaman in the garbage. Literally. But Omegaman did not give up at the garbage. Now, Omegaman used the stuff in the garbage, all the technology and junk, to weld a high-tech cannon, and he used this cannon to march right back into Chaos's fortress and wipe out the entire legion of K-bots. Obviously, Eon heard about this, and the rest is history. He got a few mechanical upgrades here and there, and now Omegaman is kicking evil's behind.
I summon the cosmos!
Next is the magic element, where we have Taboo the sorcerer. You see, Taboo was born into the royal family of a civilization of monkeys. However, on his day to become king, in another world, the superchargers were defeating the darkness. However, the Dark Rift engine is super unstable, and it created a rift which sent Taboo away from his family to a temple. This temple housed many monks who were skilled in harnessing the magic element. Taboo thought it best to learn from these monks, and he became more and more skilled with harnessing the power of magic. Eventually, a rift appeared at the temple, and before that Taboo departed, Mysticat granted him the staff he uses today. After Taboo went through the portal, he found a group of Skylanders fighting Chaos. Taboo immediately joined into the action and helped the Skylanders fend off Chaos. Taboo went back to the academy with the Skylanders, where he met Master Eon. And you know what happens next.
Can't stop the tide.
Next is water, where we have Washwave the swashbuckler. Washwave was a princess in the Titan civilization. The Titans were a seahorse civilization closely related to the Gilman. The main Titan capital was located right next to the Cloud Kingdom in a sea nearby. But in the age of the Sky Eater, Chaos took over the Cloud Kingdom, and this made things terrible for the Titans. But it got even worse when the Sunken Storm Sequencer shot a vicious tidal wave towards the Titan capital. Washwave was outside during this tidal wave and got swept up in the current. Washwave eventually washed up on a remote island at the edge of the Titan Sea. With no survival skills, she was trapped with no way home. She had to learn how to survive. Eventually her skills got better, and she even made a composite of grinded seashells and lapis lazuli to create the perfect blade that was light and sharp. She also learned a secret swimming technique that allowed her to create her own tidal wave. Eventually, she used these skills to get back to the capital of the Titans. However, she realized that Chaos's forces were invading, but she used her newfound blades and skills to fend off the trolls and save the Titan civilization. For this, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize of Skylanders, which exists now because I said so. And Eon, of course, came to her with an offer to join Skylanders. And she, of course, accepted, which leads us to where we are now.
Prepare to face fire!
We're heating it up with fire, where we have Scorcher the Smasher. Scorcher grew up in the same race as Firecracken. Scorcher had an extreme admiration for Firecracken and was one of his most passionate fans. Scorcher was also a daredevil, his main act being exposing himself to extreme temperatures for extreme amounts of time. Scorcher eventually decided that he wanted to be like Firecracken. So he made himself molten rock armor and weaponry, and eventually started fighting evil. He wasn't very good at it at first, but he got better. And one day, there was a firework accident gone horribly wrong in his hometown. Eon sent Firecracken, but Scorcher was closer, so he made it there first. And Scorcher got really close to the crazy exploding fireworks, so he could mash it up with his club, therefore disposing of the fireworks. Firecracken arrived just in time to see what Scorcher had done, and this experience pushed Scorcher to hone his combat skills even farther. Eventually, he became good enough at fighting the darkness that he became a Skylander, where he now fights the darkness along his idols and his new friends.
Get ready for double trouble.
Earth Element is rocking in with Hood Hunter, the Sentinel. Hood Hunter was once a powerful and corrupt businessman in Skylands who made most of his money from drilling into islands and excavating. He would do many bad things with his power, and no one really liked him at all. And then, one day, a wizard came and punished him for his awful deeds by making him hideous and, the whole fairy tale thing, and he lost his job, and his life was all ruined. And the wizard said once that he learned how to be a better person, he would get his life back. So, he started to try to repair the islands that he destroyed through his mining excavation. He brought the earth back to the lands, and he kind of became a better person along with it. And one day, when there was an evil attack on a village, he decided to put a few chunks of rock on a stick and fight back. And after that, the wizard came and offered him his life back, but he refused it and said he found his calling helping people. And eventually, he helped enough people that Eon caught wind of the situation and came to tell Hood Hunter to join Skylands.
Fear my arrows.
We are drifting into air with our bowslinger, Arrow. Arrow once was a simple drow archer, but he excelled above average in every category. His shots were incredible. It's almost as if that they were connected to the wind. And honestly, instead of getting praise for being such an incredible sharpshooter, Arrow's fellow drow teammates hated him. They were so jealous of how incredible he could handle a bow. And eventually Arrow was just done with him. He packed up his things and went on the road. One day, Arrow encountered Flameslinger. Once they saw each other, they both immediately drew their bows and shot. But both of their shots were so accurate that the arrows hit each other midair and fell to the ground. And then, even with the blindfold on, Flameslinger could see that Arrow didn't want to fight. The two went to the academy, and Arrow got started on the villain rehabilitation program, where he eventually passed and became a Skylander, where he now defeats the drow he once called his friends.
Master of my throwing stars!
In the dark element, we have a ninja. This ninja is Nightbreak. Nightbreak, you see, was one of Skyland's most notorious ninja masters. He would work for anybody. This includes evil. He did a lot of terrible things just for a profit. And one day, the same wizard that cursed Hood Hunter came along and cursed Mr. Nightbreak. Mr. Nightbreak's curse was that he completely lost his torso and he just became a head with arms and legs. This completely destroyed his fighting style, and he was basically worthless as a ninja. He basically just gave up on everything. But the wizard came back and decided to cheer him up and said that you should make the most of it, because being small can actually have some advantages. So rather than focusing on melee, Mr. Nightbreak decided to try focusing on ninja stars, which he became incredibly skilled with. And he also learned that being small can allow you to be much more stealthy. And he saw the brighter side of being a tiny little head thing. And then one day, he got a call from one of his evil people that hired him, wanting him to do a terrible thing. But he denied the call, and he went and turned himself in at the academy, and went through the villain rehabilitation program, and came out as a Skylander. And now, he fights for what's right, not for what'll get him the most money.
I'm all about the light.
And lastly, we're shining a light on the light element, where we have Blaze Blast, the quick shot. You see, Blaze Blast, actually, his original form was just light, nothing else. But when Cloudcracker Prison exploded, a bunch of pure light formed into one being, which became Blaze Blast. At first, he didn't know what to do, just walking around the land, eventually collecting scraps to hold his form together better. Until one day, when he was walking through a village, and it got attacked by trolls. And he was pretty much defenseless. He just got defeated and hurt badly. He decided then and there that he wanted to stop evil. Obviously, this would be a big task on his own, but he thought he could do it. First thing he did was got 2 extremely pure crystals and connected handles to them. And he was able to use his pure light energy and focus it through the crystals to create shots, which became his 2 guns. And he also realized that he could do other things with light, like create blasts. And he used this to go back and defeat those trolls. And eventually he started going from town to town and saving the innocent. Eventually, as for everything, because Eon has ears everywhere, he caught on to this. And Eon brought in Blaze Blast, where Blaze Blast entered the family of Skylanders. So, those are the 10 Skylanders to be featured in the Skylanders Imaginators ImagineLocke. Tell me which one of them you are most excited to see in the comments down below. Tell me what you thought of the backstories, etc., etc. On the 15th of February 2022 will be the premiere of the first episode of the Skylanders Imaginators ImagineLocke. So make sure to see that when it comes out. And I'll see you guys over there. Thank you for watching. You are all amazing. And peace.
Hit stealth. Hit stealth.